With just 14 days to go until the NFL Draft,
Mel and Todd.
With just 14 days to go until the NFL Draft, Twitter has been burning up with your questions. The best in the business here to answer. We have 60 minutes to get to as many as we can. Welcome to You've Got Mel and Todd. Hundreds of questions submitted, and we've taken the very best, some smart, some humorous, so you guys can educate and we can all have some laughs. Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay, I'm Susie Colbert. All right, you guys ready to dive in?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
Quarterback, always a great place to start. So 5 quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence at the top, but Mel has been adamant. Justin Fields is his number 2. Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance round out his top 5. Little suspense what will happen at the top of the draft. Everything points to Lawrence to the Jags, Wilson to the Jets, which sets up our first question. And as we get going, thanks to everyone who submitted questions on Twitter. We know number 3 is going to be a quarterback. What percentage chance would you assign to Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields going in that spot? Mel, you start.
Well, 70 is a passing grade, so I'll go Mac Jones 70%. This has to equal 100 last time I checked, so I'll go 70% for Mac. I'll go 20% for Trey Lance, because you heard it could be Mac or Trey Lance early on. And because Kyle Shanahan was at the pro day, the second pro day, I'll go 10% for Justin Fields.
Yeah, I'll go pretty close to yours. I'm going to go 60% for Mac Jones, and it's based purely on the intel that we're getting from people in the league and people around San Francisco. After that, I'll go 30% Trey Lance. If I was the general manager, or if I was Kyle Shanahan, I would be pushing to get the North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance as the pick. I just think he can provide more, has a higher ceiling, and you have Jimmy Garoppolo there. And then the 10%, the final 10%, I'll go with Justin Fields from Ohio State. I think he's the most athletic. I think he has a chance to be the best quarterback of this entire group, but I think he can improve upon when he gets to the league.
So Mel mentioned it. Fields held a second pro day yesterday. Lance has his second pro day Monday. Shanahan and Lynch will be there, as well as a lot of other teams represented. Mel, do you think this can change anything or change your percentages?
I don't think so, Susan. I got to believe this late. I understand it was a COVID year and we didn't have limited information, a mysterious draft and all that. But if you're going up from 12 to 3, as the 49ers did, you better know there's 2 quarterbacks that we love after Trevor Lawrence is going number 1, and you figured Zach Wilson was going 2, but it wasn't a certainty then, it is now. So there was probably 2, so that other quarterback, that's who you're going to get. And if it's Mac Jones, you had to believe that going in. I don't think it was any toss-up. Mike Shanahan's involved in this with Kyle and certainly with John Lynch, the GM, but I got to believe, they knew who they were going to take, and you do your due diligence. You show up for these pro days just to make sure, but I think at the end of the day, they knew who their quarterback was going to be, or you don't make that monumental leap.
Dot the I's, cross the T's. Second question, Todd, you go first with this one. Which team is most likely to move up in this draft if one of the top quarterbacks slides?
Well, I look at it, and I think there's a very good chance that 4 quarterbacks could go in the top 4. So then you look at Denver at number 9. They're the team that is either going to take the 5th quarterback or you have to get ahead of if you want to move up. So I'm going to go with New England. And listen, Bill Belichick, in 2 decades of running this organization, the New England Patriots, has not drafted a quarterback in the 1st round. It's been 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 6th round, obviously, with Tom Brady. But he had Tom Brady for 2 decades, so we didn't have to move up. But now you see everything's kind of changed. This offseason, they spend more money than anyone in the history in free agency, bringing in tight ends and receivers and defensive players. I think they're in a position with Cam Newton making essentially backup quarterback money to now move up from 15, give away additional picks, probably 2 or 3 first or second round picks to go up ahead of Denver to go get a Justin Fields or a Mac Jones at that 7, 8 spot if they're able to make a deal.
Yeah, I think that's the key, Todd, because Carolina, I think, would target Penei Sewell or a receiver or an offensive lineman like Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. Detroit needs a lot of help. they would be the pick. But then you have, as you say, Denver, New England, maybe Chicago, Washington. There's a lot of competition to move up to get Justin Fields if you were to slide. Now, it's interesting. If Mac Jones doesn't go 3 and he starts to slide, you got to believe that Bill Belichick, with that Nick Saban connection, those comps to Tom Brady when he came out of Michigan, would be really in a position to be aggressive to move up if you're New England to go get Mac Jones, because it seems that he seems to fit what they did all those years perfectly with Tom Brady. He's not Tom Brady, but he fits what he did. And I think either way, whether it's Jones or certainly Fields, New England's got to be aggressive. You cannot be the 4th team in your division at quarterback.
Kiper,
they were number 1
this
for a long team. Now they're 4.
Let me ask you this question, Kiper. If you're Denver, you're sitting there, you've got Drew Lock, you feel like you've got a pretty good team around him, but he hasn't played to the level you expected. And you're sitting there at number 9, and Justin Fields is there. And I know you had New England moving up from 15 to 10 in the mock 4.0, but if Denver's sitting there at number 9, aren't you interested in like the concept of taking Justin Fields and trying to upgrade that position, or are you going to go with a different position player? I think you had Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State, going 9 to Denver.
Yeah, again, a mock draft is what you think could happen, not what you would do. I would take Justin Fields way up there, and certainly if I'm Denver, I'm taking him, because in that division, you have Carr, you have Herbert, you have Mahomes. You got to be right there with him. As I say, you can't be 4th in the division. They are right now with Drew Lock. But what they wanted to do was get Stafford, or they wanted to get Darnold, more established guys with experience, right? Especially Stafford, who's a proven entity, big-time quarterback. Darnold, we think, can be really good. But here you're going with a rookie who needs time. I don't know if, again, they should have drafted Josh Allen. That was the bottom line, but they didn't because they had drafted Paxton Lynch, and they went for Case Keenum instead. They haven't been able to get it right at quarterback. They haven't been in sync at quarterback at all, Denver. I would take Justin Fields, but I do think somebody's going to maybe jump to 7, and if Denver wants them, they're going to have to go up, because New England's going to be in that mix, and you got to believe Chicago or one of those other teams like Washington will be. It's going to be fun to see who ends up with Justin Fields, because right now that's the big mystery in this draft.
So let me back you guys up with some numbers here. How likely is there to be a trade? 25 teams have traded up in the first round for a quarterback in the last 20 drafts. But Todd, to your point about the Patriots, they haven't traded up in the first round for an offensive player since 2002, and that was a tight end. We'll see if they break form. Right, next question. How is Justin Fields not the clear number 1 quarterback? Potential 4.4 speed and solid numbers against better competition than Lawrence faced. What can Lawrence, Jones, or Wilson do that Fields can't? Mel, this feels like it's right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, and go back to New England. You had Tom Brady. Why trade up? You got the greatest of all time. Now they don't have Brady, so it is time to trade up. Time to do things a little bit differently without TB12, right? So I think when you look at where we are right now with Justin Fields, I think he didn't have the great year in the final campaign of his career where Wilson did. So you kind of overlook the struggles of Zach up until this season, right? Mac Jones only played in 4 games with 2 was hurt. This year he put it all together. Justin Fields had a great 2019 campaign, and then he had those 2 off games. And you got to look at coming back, and I give him a lot of credit, a ton of credit for coming back and outperforming Trevor Lawrence. But I think the fact that he didn't finish as strong as the other guys did, it's easy to poke holes at Justin Fields. I'm not buying it. I'm loyal to quarterbacks, unlike some people on this show. They kind of go all around. I stick with the guys I like, right or wrong, up and wrong, right or wrong, I'm loyal to the guys I like.
I've got Justin Fields ahead of Mac Jones. Let's start there. Even though we both have Mac Jones going number 3 to San Francisco, because it's built on the intel that we're getting and not necessarily where we rank them. I've said before, I think physically, if you're asking me who's physically the most gifted in this class, I would go with Justin Fields. But I watched the Northwestern tape, and I watched Pat Fitzgerald, one of the best defensive minds in college football, throw a lot of zone coverages at him and make the picture cloudy after the snap. It looks like cover 2, now we're quarters. Looks like cover 3, now we're in cover 2. He changed a lot of things post-snap, and that's where Fields got in trouble. He really struggled in that game. He really struggled against some similar concepts against Indiana as well. So that's the concern. But I will say this, again, physically as talented as anyone in the class. And also I've heard the nonsense about the work ethic and the toughness. Are you kidding me? I mean, the guy's turned vegan. Have you ever tried being vegan? My wife tried to get me on vegan for about a week, and 3 days in, I went and made a cheeseburger. Like, it's so much easier. And you watch him run that 4.44 in the 40-yard dash with his shirt off. You're telling me this guy doesn't work hard. And then did anyone watch the Clemson game where he cracks his rib and he comes back in, and then a week later against Alabama he rushes the ball 6 times and takes big time hits in that game? So I don't buy any of that. It's just he needs some developing to do at the next level in terms of understanding coverages, getting off of that primary target, and not having to see his receiver come open and have more anticipatory accuracy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a vegan for a lunch in one day, let alone for forever.
Yeah, I mean, you eat pumpkin pie for breakfast every day, Kite.
Hey, what can I say? A lot of more weird things than that, but we don't have time for all that today. So I'll go to Justin Fields. Word is that he was not 100% or even close to it for that Northwestern game, Todd. So again, playing through not being perfect, yet being able to go out there and still lead your team. Now, I think for Justin Fields, I think you look at 2019, how good he was, and you kind of went all over the place, Todd. You didn't like him, then you kind of gave reasons why you might love him. So you kind of play that tape back in 10 years, you got both bases covered. But I think when you look at Justin Fields, I'm on record saying he's the second best quarterback in this draft. To go toe-to-toe and outplay Trevor Lawrence meant a lot, because that game, there was more pressure on Justin Fields than any quarterback I can ever remember. The haters, the doubters, the skeptics were all over Justin Fields after that Northwestern and Indiana game, yet he lit it up and he outplayed the anointed one, the number one pick in this draft, Trevor Lawrence. I really like the character, the toughness of Justin Fields, and you mentioned the talent. It's undeniable. So when you put it all together, how can you not like Justin Fields?
For the record, I just want to say that you can make...
There are the updated odds for the third pick in the draft. My, how it has changed. Just a couple of weeks ago, Trey Lance was the favorite to go number 3. Then, after the trade settled in that rocketed the 49ers from 12-3, Mac Jones became the prohibitive favorite at minus 200. Now, Justin Fields, on the heels of Pro Day 2, he's the favorite to be the third overall pick by the San Francisco 49ers. Hey, Peter King, I'll say this. If the 49ers are trying to build a mystery as to what they're going to do with that third overall pick, mission accomplished. Because at this point, no one knows what they're doing.
I mean, it's all nonsensical to me. And not that so much of pre-draft stuff is nonsensical. But the reason that it's nonsensical is that, do you think that if Mac Jones had had a pro day this week and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were standing there on the sidelines, do you think that those odds would be the same? No, I don't. I mean, I don't understand why going to a pro day. And look, whoever makes those odds could very well know something. I don't know. I don't know anything, though. And it just seems a little silly that, you know, the fact that you had these guys standing there at a pro day watching a workout, they now, oh boy, now they're picking Justin Fields. It just, Mike, it's just silly. That's all I can say.
I hear what you're saying.
It's silly.
I don't know enough yet about the gambling philosophies to know what makes the odds moves. Obviously, betting on one specific guy will change the odds. And it could be that just a bunch of casual gamblers are making that extremely superficial connection. There he is. Mask up, Kyle. Please, Kyle. Kyle, I've told you 3 times now this week. Mask up. Of course, it's the same clip, but I'll say it again. Mask up. It could just be people are making that very obvious connection, and that's driving the numbers, and it really isn't any different. It's going to settle back into Mac Jones being the favorite. I think that a lot of us like it being mysterious, especially the networks that are going to televise the draft. We already know 1 and 2. Why would we want the 49ers to tell us who number 3 is? But they run the risk eventually, Peter, of looking like they traded up to number 3 without knowing what they were going to do. That's the danger of making it too mysterious, because at some point you say, guys, you're ultimately investing 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick for a player, and you don't know who the player is? Really? It could be one of 3 guys, and you haven't decided yet? I mean, I think they've known all along, and they're just doing their due diligence because you never know what's going to happen. And in theory, anything can happen in the next 13 days that could cause them to pivot away from the guy that they traded up there to get. So, Peter, I think it's a combination of the Ultimate Reality Show getting hyped up in a subtle way or not, and the 49ers just being careful because they can be.
Look, there's no reason why the San Francisco 49ers need to let anything leak about who they're taking. No reason whatsoever. And, as far as what happened 1 month before the draft, I believe that Chris Greer played this situation, the Miami general manager played this situation perfectly, because he basically said to the 49ers, and the 49ers knew that if we want to go up and get this pick, we have to overpay. Nobody's ever gone up 9 spots in a first round and paid 2 future ones and a 3 to do it. Nobody. This is a tremendous investment. And in my opinion, what the 49ers did was they ensured that they bought insurance, that they were going to get one of those 3 guys. And although I believe on the day they did this, that Kyle Shanahan's voice deep inside is saying, hey, we're taking Mac Jones. But John Lynch, Adam Peters, Parag Marathe, Jed York, hey, listen, we've got a month. Let's study every guy thoroughly. And let's make sure that when we do pick the guy, and look, there's all kinds of great memes going out about this. But the fact is, if you have a month, you should use every moment, because you're making a momentous decision for the future of your franchise.
Yeah, and one thing that we talked about when Kyle Shanahan went to Pro Day 2 in Alabama to see Mac Jones throw, Shanahan doesn't like going to pro days. He doesn't go to many. So he goes to see Mac Jones in Alabama. He goes to see Justin Fields in Columbus. He's going to go see Trey Lance at his Pro Day 2. Yeah, I think that you just want to feel better. You already feel good about it or you wouldn't have made the move. This is a way for you to feel better. You've seen Mac Jones throw on the field, in person. You've done it with Fields. You've done it with Lance. You have greater conviction in what you're going to do. They really don't have to be coy, because it's not like anyone is going to leapfrog them. Nobody's trading up to 2 with the Jets to take Mac Jones. The Jets are locked in with Zach Wilson. The Jaguars are locked in with Trevor Lawrence. The 49ers basically have the first pick in the draft, as far as anyone knows. So they don't need to be coy, but you need to be ready. You never know what's going to happen, Peter. I just think that's what it comes down to. Whether it's the Laramie Tunsil gas mask bong video, or, I don't want to get specific and then be accused of jinxing someone, but 13 days are going to elapse between now and the first round of the draft, and maybe Mac Jones isn't completely healthy 13 days from now, and you got to be ready to move on to plan B. You don't know what's going to happen. Freak accidents happen all the time to people.
Yeah. I just got a text from somebody saying, what do you mean? What do the 49ers have to gain by keeping it secret? I'll give you a great for instance. Suppose the Atlanta Falcons, not that I think this is going to happen, suppose the Atlanta Falcons are in love with pick a quarterback, Justin Fields, and they hear that the 49ers very well might pick Justin Fields. And what if the Atlanta Falcons say to the 49ers, look, we'll give you a 2 to go up to number 3. And the 49ers say, we'll only do that if if we can be assured that we're going to get the guy we want at 4. And they play that dance, they play that game. It's almost certain not to happen. But the reason why you keep things a secret is that you never can tell what is going to happen in the day or 2 before the draft. And I'll give you a great example. I was with the 49ers in their draft room, in 2017, the first draft for John Lynch there. And they basically but they basically squeezed out another third-round pick from the Bears to move up from 3 to 2 to get Mitchell Trubisky. And so when you basically are in this position, the way that the 49ers are now, you need to play your cards incredibly close to the vest so that no one knows until you make the pick exactly